meet this challenge. I now recognize Ranking Member Cruz for his opening statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to each of the witnesses. Now is an exciting time to be involved in aviation. Americans are developing new technologies like air taxis, hypersonic planes, rockets, and better fuels, all of which have the potential to transform air travel. The benefits of these new technologies are wide-ranging. They may enable more adaptable and comprehensive safety inspections for keeping the flying public safe. They may allow aircraft to fly more efficient routes, reducing emissions and cutting time off a trip. In fact, many aircraft, as we'll hear today, may be able to fly using less fuel or new propulsion technologies. The FAA must move quickly to keep up with this innovation or risk stifling the progress made by the private sector. I've heard more than once that better aviation technologies exist but aren't used today because they're incompatible with the FAA's legacy systems, or the FAA has yet to certify them. We'll hear today that innovative companies are going elsewhere because of FAA red tape. For example, some are leaving the U.S. for regulatory sandboxes in Australia or certification frameworks in the UK. This is antithetical to America's ethos of innovation, and it's frankly embarrassing for businesses to be lost to other countries when we can't get our act together. We must hold the FAA accountable for its role in certifying new aircraft and its failure to give clear and consistent regulatory guidelines to nascent industries that rely on the FAA for direction. A key component of being ready for new entrants is having a national airspace system capable of handling the sheer number of these aircraft, large and small. We need to ensure that our air traffic system has the capability to integrate these new aircraft. The FAA has spent nearly 20 years attempting to implement their latest air traffic control modernization effort, NextGen. What was once supposed to be a transformative upgrade to our air traffic systems has become a tech refresh effort, plagued by delays and cost overruns, with limited benefit to the flying public. The conversation about what is required to integrate all these great new technologies is an important one. But we also need to have a conversation about whether we have a modern air traffic system that can meet the needs of not just new entrants, but of current users, which, given that Transportation Secretary Buttigieg just last week asked airlines to cut their summer schedules by 10% in New York due to staffing shortages, seems doubtful. And I want to underscore that point for the listening public at home. Just last week, Secretary Buttigieg asked airlines to cut their schedules in New York by 10% because the FAA couldn't keep up with the traffic. That's a failure of the job given to the department. Our priorities in aviation must be safety, reliability, and affordability. Two of today's witnesses will discuss hydrogen and other forms of advanced propulsion. While these can be exciting technologies, we should be wary of calls to provide taxpayer subsidies for them. When anything is subsidized by the government, the risk of wasting taxpayer dollars is profound. We're already seeing this happening with sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF. In last year's wasteful tax and spend reconciliation bill, congressional Democrats provided nearly $300 million in grants and a special tax credit varying between $1.25 and $1.75 per gallon for the SAF. Without these government handouts, SAF would not be commercially viable. Today, SAF costs up to 8 times the cost of traditional jet fuel. If the economies of all SAF air travel were fully shifted to the flying public, Very few could afford a plane ticket. SAF risks becoming the new Cylindra or cellulosic fuel. Cellulosic biofuels, which are different from traditional corn or soy ethanol, were supposed to be the future of gasoline. Even though they benefited from hundreds of millions of dollars of federal support and waived production requirements over 15 years, they're still not commercially viable today. Here's one example of SAF's cost for taxpayers. A Boeing 737 MAX 8 holds 6,800 gallons of fuel and carries 175 passengers. Assuming 10% of the fuel is SAF, which is in line with the president's stated goal, subsidized at $1.75 per gallon, that comes to $7 per passenger per trip. Those numbers add up, and even worse, could be used in time if SAF cannot be commercially viable to justify a federal mandate. ESG goals driven by politics should not be used to harm the American consumer. I look forward to the testimony.
Thank you, Senator Cruz, for that statement. I'll now turn over the hearing